Hey everyone, it's Andy with The Wedding Biz. And before we get into today's interview, I want to mention another podcast that I used to have called Extraordinary Ordinary People. And so if you enjoy the style of The Wedding Biz, Extraordinary Ordinary People has an even more casual and storytelling vibe. And my concept was to meet people, sometimes in total random situations, who I got a strong feeling about in terms of them having an interesting story to tell. And there are around 40 to 50 interviews, some of which I also put on The Wedding Biz, but one that you definitely have never heard before and is super inspiring is about Kimi Werner. First name is spelled K-I-M-I, Kimi Werner. It was dated July 12th, 2017. And hers was an amazing story of building an incredible life and career and then practically losing it all only to rise back up in a just totally triumphant way. So go to your podcast app and look up Extraordinary Ordinary People or the website of eopeople.net. Anyway, if you missed last week's episode, it was a revisit with Rob Van Helden of Rob Van Helden Floral Design Limited out of London. Rob is a big hitter in the industry, and just some of his previous clientele includes Nelson Mandela, Joe Malone, Elton John, James Bond film premieres, and royal weddings and events. So that was a real cool one. And today's guest, I'm very excited to say, is Micaela Erlanger. Micaela is a celebrity fashion stylist with Micaela Erlanger Studios, who is also the best-selling author of How to Accessorize, a perfect finish to every outfit. For several years, she was named one of the most powerful stylists by The Hollywood Reporter. Honored with the Style Influencer Awards by the Accessories Council, Micaela is also a Marie Claire Image Maker Award winner. She styled numerous celebrities, including Lupita Nyong'o, Jennifer Hudson, Hilary Swank, Blake Lively, and many more. She has also worked on numerous editorials and brand advertising campaigns. Micaela has been on The Wedding Biz 3 times before, including her first one, in which we also covered her backstory, and that was episode number 208 from December of 2019. I also had her on along with Amanda Hurst, who she styled for her wedding a few years ago, and that was episode number 294 in September of 2020. So enjoy this new conversation with Micaela Erlanger. Hey, Micaela, it's so good to have you back. Thanks for doing this again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and it's amazing. The last time we talked was in the middle of the pandemic when we had Amanda Hurst on and we had talked about her wedding. And oh my gosh, I guess a lot has happened since then. It's been 3 years.
Wow. Time has really flown. I can't believe it.
I know, it's so weird. And I remember during that time was going really slow, you know?
I think it was a time warp, but we're back.
Yeah. Oh God, are we back? We're back big time. So, and speaking of that, I mean, I watch you on Instagram and also I checked out your website and I see that you've taken it to a whole nother level since the last time I saw it. And you have such a laundry list of celebrities that you've worked with, as well as editorials and advertising campaigns. I'm curious if there's anyone that you've styled in the past couple of years that you're especially excited about. And also coming up too.
Definitely. Well, a lot has evolved since we last spoke, both my celebrity styling business and, of course, my private client business, which focuses on special occasions and weddings. Being back in New York now has really been an exciting time because I was spending the pandemic in Miami, as you might remember.
So jealous. Oh my God.
So many people, I had exited New York, and anyway, I've returned to my home base,
right.
and it feels really good.
Yeah.
But after the pandemic, the world of entertainment really has shifted, and we're now coming out of a pretty massive strike. So I am very fortunate to be picking back up right where we left off. And I've got a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon. Some big news actually is I actually just finished my executive MBA at Harvard Business School.
Wow.
And I went back to school last year for an accelerated program because I really wanted to underscore my skills and my ability to translate the brand building and positioning that I do with celebrity talent towards brands, products, and things. And so really thinking about from a strategy perspective, how I can really use that, image and brand positioning and apply it in a different medium. And it was a really great course to have been a part of. It was a very challenging, endeavor. I cannot believe I got through it, but I did. I actually have to go back just to finish up 2 electives this winter, and then I'm really done. But in the meantime, it's been amazing. And so coming out of that, I have been really focused on building out that consulting side of my business while I continue to work with my celebrity talent. Kelly Clarkson is a new client who I'm working with for her daytime TV show and all of her performances.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank
huge.
you.
You got to take a breath on that one. Oh my God.
Yeah, we can come back to that. And then, of course, working with a select handful of private clients each year as well. So it's really been an exciting time.
Well, first, I want to talk about Kelly in a moment, that kind of represents in general what you're doing at that level. But first of all, I remember that I think it was the first interview I had with you, we talked about how, with styling, you're telling a story through image, right? And it's an extension. The image that we present is an extension of our brands. And I think about how it's not just what you do with your clients, but I think even us, the professionals in the wedding industry, that we've got to present ourselves in a certain way.
Absolutely.
Right? This is such a visual industry that we're in.
Yes. Not only are we positioning our service, and what it is that we do outwardly, but it is also an extension of your personal brand. And so you really have to look at it, in my opinion, in 2 different ways. What is it that you're selling, and who are you, and what is the positioning and storytelling for both of those sort of narratives?
I don't remember if I brought this up when we spoke before, but one of the things I think about immediately, again, about our story and what is the narrative, I have seen, like, I'm no longer personally in the bands, that I used to perform in, for these luxe weddings and all of that. But I remember I did it for a long time. And I would see wedding professionals, like photographers who are all over the room. They're in front of everybody. And I'm not generalizing. I'm just saying, as an example, I would see sometimes photographers, I would see even planners who were so dressed down. And I was like, I didn't get it. It's, you know what I'm saying? It just seems that as wedding professionals, we have to consider this at the events that we're working in.
Absolutely. I think we are in the business of making moments and selling fairy tales. And if you want to play in that, in that arena, then you have to walk the walk and talk the talk, and you have to look the part. And it's not about getting dressed to the nines. It's about being authentic, and it's about being an extension of what it is that you create and do. And so, I really think that does come down to your own personal image. And so, these are all really important things to be thinking about when you're developing your own brand.
So just for a moment with Kelly Clarkson, it's interesting. She, first of all, my impression of her, beyond her music, she's obviously an amazing superstar, incredibly talented, but she presents herself so positive and upbeat. And I wonder what it's like for you working with her, and what you're able to say about the discussions you've had about how to express her brand through her visual, image and what she wears.
For sure. She is a brand new client. So we have had the wonderful opportunity to meet maybe 3 times. So it's very, very early in our working relationship right now. And she is exactly that. She is a class act. She is so wonderful and so positive and such a pleasure to be around. And, her show has moved to 30 Rock. And so It is now in New York. It's a New York-based show, whereas before it was LA. And it's New York. It's a new season. It is a new look for Kelly. And so really thinking about what that means for her and what that means for the audience and who is she talking to. It's daytime TV and so forth. And that is a very different sort of role to play and audience to dress for, as opposed to Kelly the performer or Kelly the musician. And when she's on stage, that is a different audience that she is performing to. It is a different narrative and story that she is telling, right? It's about the music, it's about the song. It is about a totally different objective. And so we really think about these sort of different almost characters, if you will. Not that it's dress up, not that it's acting, because it's not, but you might embody different personalities when you are, communicating to a particular audience. And so we really do think about that. And I think that that's an approach I take honestly throughout all of my creative projects and clients, whether they're celebrities, whether they're actors, musicians, athletes, or even my private clients in, weddings and or special occasions. It really is all harnessed under that same kind of thought process.
Yeah. I want to make sure that you're aware of two other shows that are on the Wedding Biz Network. First, The Business of Being Creative, hosted by founder and president of The Business of Being Creative, Sean Lowe. Sean's consulting firm is focused on providing practical advice to those in the business of being creative. Tune in every Tuesday to hear a new episode chock full of topics and advice for creative businesses. Also, check out the 2 seasons of Stop and Smell the Roses, hosted by the one and only lifestyle and event design expert, Preston Bailey. Preston speaks with such an honest voice. I know you're going to thoroughly enjoy hearing him on this unique platform. You can find both shows at theweddingbiznetwork.com or on your cell phone's podcast app for both The Business of Being Creative and Stop and Smell the Roses. I want to ask too, you've been styling at a pretty high level, for a while and you keep evolving. I'm wondering, how do you think about yourself in terms of how you've evolved yourself personally and in your business? Like how has that gone for you? Because you have your own brand image that you need to think about.
I do. Well, it's funny. There is certainly like Micaela, the brand. And then there also is, me, Kayla, the individual at home. And I would say that they are very much in sync. I think that the image and sort of the image and the degree of which I sort of hold myself and my standards to is an absolute reflection of who I am in my day-to-day life, but a little bit more elevated and polished because it's a business. And I think as I've evolved, it really has been my professional leadership journey that has evolved. And I think this idea of how I've cultivated different verticals of my business and really expanded styling, brand consulting, and my own personal talent and personal brand are 3 really important categories.
Well, and one of those verticals that you're talking about isn't it the bridal styling division that you launched, I think it was back in late 2019, early 20?
Yes, I count that. I count that really under styling in general because it's the same application of services just towards a different target audience. As opposed to being celebrity, this is, available to a handful of discerning, sophisticated private clients. So absolutely. And this has been a business that I have refined, I think, over the last 6 years. I think that's how long it's been since I had my first wedding. So, I only do about 10 a year. I am incredibly selective, if that. It's really between, I'd say, like 7 and 10. And that's intentional because the process is so thoughtful. It's so curated. It is done at such a highly executed level, just as I do with my celebrity clients. It requires an incredible in-depth process. And so, I really am proud of what I've built in that regard. And I'm also really proud of like the clientele that I have amassed, and that they've also become repeat clients. You might start with a wedding, but being able to develop that relationship and have them come back for birthdays, for celebrations, for galas, for anniversaries, that is a really beautiful thing.
Before we go on to another topic, sticking with that, a lot of the people who are listening to this are planners and designers, planners, who are, obviously working with their bridal couples. And when they're working with a bride, what is like the main piece of advice, if you can kind of suss it down to one big piece of advice that a planner should be aware of when advising their brides as far as their gown and how to approach their thoughts about what they're going to pick out?
I mean, I really think that we are an asset and a key vendor if you were to think of the lineup of who to hire. And this isn't a sales pitch, but if you were to think about how a masthead on a magazine is structured, right? There is the editor-in-chief, there is the creative director, there is the photographer, there's the art director, there's the fashion stylist or the fashion director. There's all of these key people, and there's the hair and there's the makeup and the so forth. And these are all, and the producer, these are all really integral roles that play a part in executing a photo shoot. And if we were to look at, the element of wardrobe and what that plays as it relates to the wedding day, right? It's what really elevates the imagery and the overall experience and continues to tell a story and a narrative. And as a stylist, we sit in that, key vendor masthead, if you will. And we are really a value add. Now, it's not to say that there aren't individuals out there that might plan weddings and also offer wardrobe services. However, I don't know that I would recommend that. If you could have someone devoted to executing on wardrobe at the same high level that you're executing on planning and production, why wouldn't you have that?
Right.
And what an incredible service to be able to offer your clients and also to relieve yourself of. So not only are you having a trusted partner in this creative journey, but it is a big responsibility these days. I feel like more than ever, there's now like an emphasis and focus on style, especially as like the various blogs and editorials and magazine platforms have chosen to highlight professionals in weddings and events. And so knowing that this is like also going to elevate the entire overall experience, not just for the couple, but for the other vendors involved.
That's right.
I think that that's a win.
Yeah.
I think that's a home run. I mean, I couldn't imagine not having someone dedicated to production, someone dedicated to hair, someone dedicated to makeup. Just as I wouldn't imagine not having a stylist involved with such a high caliber event.
What is the hard part for you in terms of running a styling business, like to the extent that you've been doing? Where is the...
Oh, it's logistics.
Yeah.
Oh, it's logistics. Logistics is like 75% of the job, and it is such a slog, and it is such a time suck. And the rest is all creative and amazing, but the logistics is the challenging part. And I mean, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can share with those listening on the planning side and on the photography and video side is that really bringing us in from the get-go is not only so important because we are working alongside like the overall vision from understanding where the location is and what the design is and what the color palettes are and what the invitations look like. Really having all of those creative insights is incredibly helpful, down to timelines. I mean, I am so involved in the timeline conversations with my clients and with the planning and production teams because it actually matters. How long do we have to do a change? How long do we have to do a hair and makeup swap?
Okay.
How long do we have to get from point A to point B? Is she going to be sitting in a golf cart or in a car? Are we going to have to touch her up with a steamer? Where is she getting dressed? How long is the walk and the heels to the, X location? All of these details actually matter and have to be built into the schedule and do have to be discussed. I mean, I had an incident with a high profile bride over the summer where the width of the aisle hadn't been measured until after we had finalized her dress. And that was a really important thing that we did because we needed to have enough breathing room. It was a very intimate space. It was a very narrow space. And we had to have enough breathing room for her big ball gown to walk down the aisle and not brush into the floral arrangements or the chairs.
Right.
And this was a whole discussion that we had to have. And it involved design, it involved planning, it involved rentals. I mean, like it was a conversation. And these are the things that maybe aren't necessarily thought of, but should be, because that would have impacted a lot of things. She would have been brushing through the floral arrangements and her dress would have been squished in pictures. And these were the things. Or how wide is the platform that so-and-so is standing on for their ceremony? And, these are all the sort of details that we think about and that we talk about. So really trusting and empowering your styling team to really be a part of the conversation, I think is really an important detail.
Yeah, I think that's the case for any creative partner with these weddings. Well, any kind of event is I wish that I was. I mean, sometimes I am involved. I mean, on the music side, from a very beginning, where I could really have some good creative input that's going to help expand the experience for everybody. And when I'm brought in later, or when it's assumed that all I'm doing is finding out what the right songs are or something, it really limits me. It holds my hand. So I think that you're not the only one to have to deal with that. But God, do I relate to what you're saying? I mean,
yeah, communication is just so important.
Yeah. So just a couple more questions. I know that you launched some product lines after that first interview at the end of 2019. Can you catch me up on what those are now that you have?
Yeah, I thank you so much for asking. I have had a very successful collaboration with Forevermark Diamonds, a subsidiary of De Beers. And I am so proud of the Micaela Forevermark collaboration. It's a collection of engagement rings and wedding bands. And they have brought it back because it was such a success. So that was really exciting. And they're just beautiful and timeless designs, in my opinion. And then I also launched a collaboration with the Bella Rosa collection of really beautiful luxury evening bags that can all be customized to your wildest imagination. And that's something I'm incredibly proud of. And I have some things teed up that will be coming down the pipeline later this year. So you'll have to stay tuned. But it's been really great to flex my creative muscles. And I always love a design collaboration and getting to sort of, dream up these beautiful collabs.
Yeah. Well, and also I really admire the drive that you have. I mean, you're such a good example of someone who takes these, skills and talents that you have and can just expand and expand and expand on it. So,
thank you.
Yeah, it's inspirational. So I have one more question, but before I ask it, is there anything else that you'd like to bring up that I haven't brought up yet?
I think we covered quite a bit.
I think we did. Well, so last question, just for fun, I have to know: what like films or red carpets have you styled for in the recent couple of years?
Oh gosh, well, coming out of the pandemic and then entering the SAG strike and the Writers Guild strike.
Oops, I forgot. Things were on hold for a while.
Things have been on hold. It has been an interesting time, but I did work with Olivia Culpo and Christian McCaffrey from the 49ers for the Dolce & Gabbana Alta Moda Couture presentation in Puglia this summer, which was amazing. And I worked with Olivia for Cannes Film Festival, and they're newly engaged, so that's exciting. And what else have I been up to? There have been a number of movie premieres and things that happened over the last couple of years that have sort of sprinkled in. But I think once this SAG strike wraps up, which hopefully is any day now, there is going to be such a flurry of red carpet activity because it's been pent up. And we're all so eager to get back out there and start creating. And I've got quite a bit going on. I think the last big press tour that I did was last year. It was the Wakanda Forever press tour with Lupita. And that was a big one. And then I was off to school, and then the strike happened. And I think we're at the tail end, thankfully, of the writers' strike and of the SAG strike. And hopefully everyone will be back soon. And I know that there's a lot of pent-up creativity that we're looking to get back out there and have some beautiful red carpet moments.
Well, this has been a fantastic catch up. So
Thank you.
Yeah, this was great, Micaela. As I told you, I keep following you, and maybe we'll do this like once a year or something like this, and we'll see how you're doing. All right, cool. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Micaela Erlanger. Her website is micaelaerlanger.com. You can find her on social media at Micaela. And if you enjoyed this, please share it with some friends and colleagues who you feel would really benefit and enjoy this. And also give a top review on your podcast app, which would really help people find the show. I want to mention next week's guest, and that is Brooke Keegan, a well-known destination planner designer out of Newport Beach, California. And finally, follow us, particularly on Instagram @TheWeddingBiz, and we'll catch you next week.